As ever, I'm going to run through my usual. So YouTube, you can probably skip the first bit of the video until you see the text in this the actual document skip. But so hey, my name's Ryan or Comrade Bubbles. I do monitor chat. I'm a mod, so behave. Um, I'm not a representative of Honest Path anyway. This is not an official product. This will be community content for the Sluretian Vault, hence the huge Sluretian Vault logo in the overlay, which is Onyx Path's community content program for the platform for the Scarred Lands game line. I'll explain Scarred Lands in a tiny bit. But I do experience muscle spasms. I do apologize for that. They can affect the muscles of my neck, jaw, and tongue, they can affect any muscle group really, but neck, jaw, and tongue make speech difficult, and they can jerk my head from side to side, which is disquieting for some people to see. I apologize if that happens. So far, it has not yet happened on this show. I have no idea what episode of the show we're on because I completely forgot to set up my show notes. It's weird because ordinarily I set the show notes up in advance, so I have the the Kickstarter links available. There's no Kickstarter on right now, so I don't know what I'm doing. I don't know what's happening. Episode 47, Scarred Lands. Episode 17, 17th of August, and I need, for archival purposes, this internet window and this Monday meeting notes link. Boom. Episode show notes set up. So, I do also struggle with multiple trains of thought, so I'll try to finish one before going on to the next. If you raise a question, and please do question, please do heckle, analyze, suggest, critique, and words of similar natures. Anything that you can think of relating to writing community content for or playing or running role-playing games. Ideally for Onyx Path, as it's their channel, but making Scarred Lands bearable. Oh, the puns have started already, and I'm here for it. Ideally for Onyx Path, as it's their Twitch channel, but I've got 10 years of role-playing experience in a wide variety of systems and genres for that matter, so I can generally offer advice and discuss things. Let's just leave it at things. Okay. As I mentioned, there's no current Kickstarter, so the only link I'm going to drop of the usual ones is why is that not copy paste? Why did that just copy the single slash? Interesting. Copy paste has failed me. There we go. Monday meeting notes. There is still a site caching issue on the back end, so it's not a user thing, where going through the Monday meeting notes tag will not always show you the most recent Monday meeting notes. Onyx Path are aware of it. There's just little they can do about it. It is, however, usually available from the main page of the website and through social media pages. So kind of the big thing is that Squeaks in the Deep has ended. The rodents and psionic rules and mega dungeon rules and stuff for Pugmire. If you wanted to get in on that, you will now have to wait a few weeks until the back kit opens up to pre-order it there. Outlines have already been put together for the companion and the jumpstart, and writers are being contacted, so that's all cool. Some more great art. There is a brief discussion on the impacts of the continuing impact of COVID on the TTRPG industry in terms of printing and products. So if you're interested in that side of the industry, it's not in depth, but it definitely is eye-opening for someone who, like me, if you didn't know very little about it. Most notably, I believe Deviant, the Renegades, and Mummy the Curse 2nd edition have been delayed because of that. Book recommendation from Rich T. Oh, here's a link, I guess. I'll drop both those links. There's a sale currently on Indie Press Revolution, the Dog Days of Summer. think it was yes, this one. I think this is the right link. The Dog Days of Summer Sale. Check it out if you want to pick up any of the like the deluxe style printed books as that you'd get if you backed on Kickstarter, as opposed to drive-throughs. Print on demand service. I don't know why that word was not coming to me. Select World of Darkness and Chronicles of Darkness books, screens, and dice are on offer. And also right now, Drive-Thru RPG has a best of under $5 sale going on. These two links I won't drop at the end of the stream, just the Monday Meeting Notes one. These links are in the Monday Meeting Notes. It's just to speed things up. But best of under $5 sale. Jumpstart's fiction, community content, adventures, and more are 33% off. So hopefully that'll tide you over till the next Kickstarter, which will, in fact, be the Apocalyptic Record for the Apocalypse 20th Anniversary Edition. As usual, there's the standard, or there's the breakdown of the Twitch schedule. Hey, I'm headlining that again. Who knew that if you are based in the UK, you get the first time slot on the first day of the schedule? Weird. Secret Vincent's Tomb and other quick jumpstart modules are available on Astral Tabletop now. So if you play Astral and want to try Scion, Scarred Lands, or Pugmire, the jumpstarts are available on that tabletop platform. On sale this week, the Adventures of Teen Tomorrow jumpstart for Trinity Continuum Aberrant. So that's Story Path Superheroes set in the Trinity Continuum game line. The panels and game listings for Gen Con are finally online if you scroll down to the convention section. And there's really no major updates for Scarred Lands in the project update timeline. Project timeline update section. There we go. That was a weird thing to say. But hey, 14 years ago since Changeling the Lost launched, so that's cool. Big fan of Changeling the Lost. Okay, before I get into the actual show, it brings me no small amount of pleasure to announce that the Inkborn is finally available for purchase. Yes, if you caught the last season of the show, you can finally, after many hours of procrastination, purchase that supplement. It clocks in at 24 pages, which I'm quite proud of. It's reasonably priced, I think, $5, but it gives you an entire new pantheon of gods for Scion that enables you to make your own pop culture divinities. I didn't want to make pop culture figures myself because I am very wary of copyright law, and I don't want to get bopped for breaking copyright. So it gives you the tools you need to make any deity, any character from popular fiction that you want to use as a deity, but in a suitably nondescript fashion. It also gives you 8 new birthrights, 3 new creatures, 3 new antagonists, 10 gods, 10 titans, and an entire pantheon-specific purview. It is not needed for my Scion adventures, but it will tie into them, let's say. I mean, I've already mentioned this, so it's not really like I'm spoiling anything. But my not next season of the show, but maybe the season after will be a Scion hero adventure, and that will be drawing upon stuff mentioned in that supplement. Although you won't need it, all of the relevant information will be in the adventure, but it'll be like, hey, you have a better grounding of what's going on, maybe. Anyway, so that's available for purchase now. So please check it out and leave a review if you can. It always helps people out. Yes, this is likely to be the last episode of this season. I'd only have 2 things to do, Polar Ursids and Temper Ursids. So I will be taking a break after this. Don't be silly. I'm not going to be working on this product. I'm going to be finishing other products. I'm trying to clear out my backlog so I can give this the focus it deserves. But I'm probably going to take the rest of this month in September off and then start again in October with some Trinity Continuum stuff where I'll be talking about playing different genres in Trinity Continuum Core, and I'll be doing a horror adventure and horror-based allegiance for talents to join. If you know all of those words mean. If you don't, suffice to say, spooky game. That's it. That's my pitch. Okay, so this episode of the show will be finishing my People of the Snow supplement for the Frostlands of Fenric release for the Scarred Lands game line. Scarred Lands is a Dungeons and Dragons 5th edition, hereafter referred to as 5e, open gaming license or OGL compliant game line that uses the system reference document, the SRD, to provide all of the rules you need to play, and then the Scarred Lands Player's Guide builds on those with lore and custom options for custom player options and creatures and stuff. Frostlands of Fenric was a release on the Sluritian Vault, an official release on the Sluritian Vault that opened up the northern continent of Fenric for community content and for people update it to 5th edition lore. And this product will support that specific release. Although you can use these in just any Scarred Lands 5th edition game. So it's not like it's you have to be playing a Fenric game for this. That's why I've got the Desert and Temperate Ursids involved. Whoops, that is turning off. Unfortunately, I don't control an iBot. So far in this document, I have covered 1 player people, the Geist fully done, fully drafted, and then we've done one subclass per class in the SRD. Those of you who are more familiar with 5th edition but may not know why, for example, the Artificer isn't here. The Artificer or Artificer, or however you pronounce the word, it's not in the SRD. So it cannot be used. Short of, I could make my own class and call it the Artificer, but then everyone will just get confused. So I'm not. As well as a cantrip, a level 1, a level 2, and a level 3 spell. But today we are finishing the Ursid. Thanks, Custom Blink. That clarified so much. Today we're finishing up the Ursid. To recap, because the show is all about how you get the narrative to reflect the mechanics, or the mechanics to reflect it. Sorry, how you get the narrative reflected in the mechanics, or how you reflect the mechanics in the narrative. The Ursid first appeared on Gelspad. So Gelspad is the default continent for Scarred Lands games. It's the continent described in the player's guide. They were created by Gorok, the Titan, the gluttonous Titan, as a living manifestation of his all-consuming gluttony. In the years leading up to the Divine War, the Ursid realized that although their titanic father had created them and gifted them with life, they did not need to give in to their animal instincts and obey the desire to collect, hoard, or consume everything that crossed their path. Where other Titans spawned turned their backs on the Titans during the Divine War and adopted the mantle of the Redeemed, the Ursid simply turned their backs on Gelspad and headed... obviously, turned their backs is repeated there, so when it comes to editing, I'll change that around. Headed north for the frigid Arctic wastes of Fenric during the first years of the war. While many among the Redeemed believed the Ursid to have died out during the Divine War, no small numbers survived the journey and founded a new civilization among the mountains that line the northeastern coast of the continent. I'll probably add a line here about pockets of Ursid could be found elsewhere on Skarn, which is the planet. But I need to think carefully about how to word that, because it's more hey, this is permission to use these others to use Ursid in other places than this is the focus of the people. But went through the entire fiction write-up. I'll do names off stream. Went through the entire fiction write-up and started the mechanics. Did, as you can see, I did the Desert Ursid, which was nice. So now, families. Yes, families. I need to... I think all Ursid are going to have these. I'm going to change the weapons around, but all of the Ursid heritages will have Ursid weapons training and Ursid talent, because that to me just is inherent to the cultures. But I'll change the proficiencies they get. Temperate's probably going to have stealth in place of animal handling, for example. But Polar Ursid. Let us continue. And obviously, if you want to distract me at any point, feel free to do so. The text is here to provide something to talk about and to provide practical examples. If you have something you'd rather discuss, I'm happy to do that. Obviously, I'll keep it on track, on brand. My own brand, not on this paths again. I'm a fan. Not a representative, but Polar Ursid 2, what? Yeah, feel free to discuss, critique, etc., as I mentioned at the top of the episode. How did I start this? Yes. Polar Ursid are covered in a thick... Why is the cursor taking so long to... You know what? Never mind. I'm just going to chalk it up to Google Docs and leave it at that. Thick layer of shaggy white fur. Typically... Oh no, decorate. There we go. Decorate their clothing with... motifs related to the animals they herd and the mountains they return to every year. What was it I called it? It was just a super boring name, I think. Giving Day. There we go. I'll probably rename that. I'll be honest, Giving Day is kind of basic, but there we go. Okay, so they got the Constitution score. The Ursid in general have a Wisdom score. Cool. Again, I'm not italicizing for accessibility purposes. Ability score increase. Okay, so they get a Wisdom score anyway, so that's out the window. Maybe just Strength. I think Strength is a good one. Or Dexterity. Do I make the Polar Ursids the stealthy hunters or the Temperate? I think the Temperate Ursids are the stealth hunters. I think the Polar Ursids don't necessarily need to have particular talent in stealth because I'm just going to give them advantage on stealth checks because of their fur and their clothing. You know, when they're in snowy environments. So let's just go with Strength. Desert Ursid has a weapon proficiency for slings, but there's any chance class is not proficient with simple weapons. Well, wizards better get slings anyway. Is not sure. The answer to that question is I don't think so, but I'm pretty sure there's precedent for... I'm just going to check the player's handbook. For what the core rules refer to as races, but Scardlands are called peoples. For those giving you proficiency in like simple weapons anyway, I believe. So warlocks proficient in simple weapons, wizards we've touched on. It's also a future-proofing thing. So if someone's using this supplement with a homebrew class that does not give you proficiency in simple weapons, for example, then you have that there more than anything. Although I as I say, I will check. Yeah, see, druids, for example, get a lot of the simple weapons to the point where they're just listed out rather than it saying simple weapons. Or you might have a class that gives you proficiency in simple melee weapons for whatever reason, rather than just both. Oh, well, now that's just confusing, wizards. That's just confusing. Cleric, weapons, all simple weapons. Warlock, weapons, simple weapons. Does that refer to melee only? Does that refer to ranged? Yeah, so it's super niche. I think the druid might be that way because of it is that way because of the no metal thing. It's although they do get sickles and short swords and scimitars, so who knows? It's a super edge case, but I'd rather have it there than just go with the assumption that everything will get proficiency with slings, if that makes sense. Now I'm kind of wondering if I've made assumptions about something that may affect this. But I don't know where the... Here it is. Sorry, I'm just going to be quiet while I read something. Yep, the rules don't seem to... Sorry for derailing things. No worries, no worries. It was an important question. Something you always have to be thinking about. Yes, there does not seem to be any distinction between simple and mainly simple ranged for proficiency options. Write a law, but then there's a new form of sling. Hashtag designs. I mean, I could. I'm probably not going to, but I could. I don't have anywhere to drop this really quickly, so I guess I'm putting it back. Sorry, my rulebooks are just out of arm's reach, so I have to lean to grab them. Anyway, so that's that covered. Your strength score increases by 1. There we go. Yeah, something I have noticed writing community content, or something that I've been encouraged to think about by what chat has said in the past is to not assume that this is going to be used alongside official material. So I do have to cover edge cases like that, or where I specify a minimum of 1 for proficiency bonus or ability score modifier. Although ability score is generally specified a minimum of 1, but proficiency bonus should never drop below 1. Even when it's halved, so I just do that in case something else affects it. Oops. Natural camouflage. Why did I underline? I do not know why I did that. When you are in snowy environments, hang on. Let's do this. Let's make this easier on myself. During a short rest, you may cover your white fur in the particulate matter. Handfuls of the local, I'll just say terrain. Until the end of your next long rest. Hang on. If you do this, you have advantage on all dexterity stealth checks. Checkers? No, checks. Please. Oh my. Alright. That's why. There we go. Related to sight. Vision. Let's say vision. Till the end of your next one. This is one of those cases where technically the end of the day would work better than the end of the next long rest. But it's such a nebulous thing. Desert Ursid long ago established a harmonious relationship with the Desert Bombardier beetle. When the Ursid placed the beetle on its wrist, it meekly attached and becomes a bracer. The Ursid can use a standard action to flex its muscles, causing the bomb to be a stalker type projectile. That's pretty good. Yep, fancy slings. If I have time at the end of the after finishing Polar and Temperate Ursids, I might do something like that. Just to be like, hey, here's an extra weapon choice for you. During a short rest, in which you may not gain any other benefits of that short rest. From short resting. From having a short rest. This is really clunkily worded, I'll admit, but I have no better way of wording it right now. Handfuls of the local terrain. I don't know why. I don't know why. I think that's okay, actually. I don't think I need to, because this is like a minor thing at most. These are like two minor things. Whereas that's kind of a big thing. I mean, this is the effect of a magical item, for crying out loud. So I'm good with that. I'm good with them just having the one thing. Let's go with... I should just open the SRD so I don't have to constantly check my rulebook. Where did the SRD go? Were any weapons introduced in the Fenrilic book as well? Because if anyone were to be proficient in those, it would be these. Yeah, why not? Let's go with the hooked hammer. With hooked hammers, short bows, and spears. I think they'll all have survival. I think I'll mix up their first one. Oh, nature. And then one more. So these are the ones that are described up here. Gave them wisdom, advantage on wisdom saving throws already. Do I go with something further, tying in further to the self-discipline, the denial of Gorok's influence? Or do I get really weird and creative with mechanics? Oh, right. I was going to give them resistance to cold damage because of the fur. Whoops. That would have been awkward. Yes, let's go with that. Endless hunger. During a short or long rest. You may lower your lower wisdom modifier, because wisdom obviously relating to self-discipline, or just proficiency bonus. No, they're letting the self-discipline go. Score by an amount. Yeah, I think by an amount is the better way of phrasing it. No, up to an amount. There we go. Javelins fit well with the no hoarding theme, throwing them away and all. Probably not, because they're more of a tool than, you know, an item to possess. They're a tool, not a possession. Unless it's like an heirloom, maybe. I could see that happening. I went with spears, by the way, here to clarify that reasoning, because spears are heavier than javelins, and if you're in a, snowstorm, you don't want the light stick to get blown away, the thrown weapon to get blown away as easily. Anyway, it may lower your wisdom score up to an amount equal to your proficiency bonus. To increase your maximum hit points by an amount equal to 5 times the reduction. It's like you lower it by 2, you get an extra 10 maximum hit points. Is 5 a decent amount? That'll give you between 5 and 30. Level 18 when you get that +6 proficiency bonus. Or 10 times the reduction, but I do it by half the proficiency bonus. I think half the proficiency. I think I'll do that. Equal to half your proficiency bonus. Minimum of 1. Oh, no. So, like, giving into that hunger makes you stronger, physically more healthy. There we go. Ooh, actually, I haven't finished this yet, but what if rather than increasing maximum hit points that way, your constitution score increases by the same amount? Because that would give you extra hit points based on how many levels you have. And saving throws will go up, and that's it. I think that's better, actually. Yeah. Let's do that. So that'd be equal to your proficiency bonus to increase your constitution ability score. To increase your constitution ability score by the same amount. Do not, I'm just going to say, adjust all derived values accordingly. Hit points, spell save DCs, etc. Ooh. What if you can do it both ways? What if you can also lower your constitution to boost your wisdom? Let's do that. That's cool. This exchange lasts until the end of your next long rest. You may lower your wisdom or constitution ability score to increase your constitution or wisdom ability score. I think that works. So like you give into that innate, literally Titan given gluttony to make yourself stronger, or you can deny it even further and improve your self-discipline temporarily before reaching the point of balance again. That's very mathy. What if you can give yourself disadvantage on wisdom related checks to gain temporary hit points to damage resistance? Yeah, I realised that as I was typing it, I'll be honest. It would still be mathy, but what about just swap those two scores? And then, rather than having to go through to figure out how many hit points you need, just gain a flat number of hit points based on level, maybe? Because that way, the only math you actually need to do is to recalculate your spell save, spell attack, and spell save stuff, as well as if you're doing ability checks, rather than having to figure out how many hit points you get and stuff. Yeah, let's try that. During a short or long rest, you may swap your wisdom and constitution ability scores. That's what better? Yes. Whilst this trait is active, is in effect, sorry, you may use Constitution as your spellcasting ability modifier. Because if you do that, it requires absolutely no recalculation. Purely because it'll be the same as your wisdom modifier, because you've just changed the two values. And you gain temporary hit points equal to your proficiency bonus? Or half your level? I think temporary hit points equal to half to proficiency bonus at the start of your turn, maybe? Hit points equal to your proficiency bonus at the start of each of your turns. Sounds reasonable. Hopefully. Once per long rest. During a short or long rest. At the end of a short or long rest. You may swap your wisdom and constitution ability scores whilst this trait is in effect. You may use a constitution as your spellcasting ability modifier, and you gain temporary hit points equal to your proficiency bonus at the start of each of your turns. This until the end of your next long rest. Does that work? Once per long rest, at the end of a short or long. That's got rest like 3 times in that sentence. At the end of a short or long rest, you may swap your wisdom and constitution ability scores until the end of your next long rest. Whilst this trait is in effect, you may use constitution as your spellcasting ability modifier, and you gain temporary hit points equal to your proficiency bonus at the start of each of your turns. Yeah. Yeah, I guess thematically this would be more of a you're kind of consciously discarding like habitual practices, so it would take more than a short rest. This is a decision you make once a day kind of thing. I agree with that. Thank you for that. End of a long rest, you may swap your wisdom and constitution ability scores until the end of your next long rest. While this trait is in effect, you may use constitution as your spellcasting ability modifier, and you gain temporary points equal to your proficiency bonus at the start of each of your turns. Should there be a drawback? I think there should be. Otherwise, why would you just not do this all the time and get the... Yeah, I think disadvantage on wisdom saves. Wisdom saves and checks? Do what? Medicine, insight, perception. Yeah, if you're obsessed with consuming... Oh, hang on. Maybe we use the condition I made for the monk. Maybe that's the thing, because the monk is inspired by Go Rock, so I'm happy to tie the two in. So I know I was quite proud of the monk. Yeah, maybe we give them focused. What was the other one? What's the warlock? I think it was the warlock had a staggered. Yeah, that's less ideal. And ideally, I won't be introducing a third condition just for a class to use for a single trait. Alternatively, a level of exhaustion. Maybe. So you do that. You choose to do this, right? You choose to throw off the societal training that you've gone through since childhood to give in to that Titan given desire to consume everything for the short-term benefit of just giving into it, really. But then once it wears off at the end of a long rest, you get a level of exhaustion. Yeah, exhaustion gives you disadvantage on all ability checks. 1 level of exhaustion. I know it's kind of mean, but if I did that, I would buff this slightly. It's just disadvantage on wisdom saves are so niche, and the Ursids in general have advantage on wisdom saves anyway. So all that would do would just give you a flat wisdom save. What else could we do to reflect that weakened discipline? I mean, treat any wisdom saving throw roll. We could do something like for wisdom saving throws, and you can no longer make stealth checks to eat your crawling stomach. Could do something like obviously the wording's not there, but yeah, but like if you make a wisdom saving throw or ability check, treat any roll of 15 or higher as 15. And how would that affect passive perception? I guess you just lower it by a certain amount. Say 2. Or like 5 minus your proficiency bonus. Half your proficiency bonus, maybe. Because if you have disadvantage on perception checks, your passive perception goes down by 5. It's not quite disadvantage. Revisit the premise. Thematical. What is this doing again? This is allowing the Ursid to ignore their spiritual training discipline, to draw upon the Titan given consumption, need to consume and to own and possess, and various other things that Gorok would inspire you to do. So it's allowing you to use that physical consumption to power your spells and to make you healthy, give you the temporary hit points to simulate, drawing strength from giving into that. So necessarily it would have to be something to do with mental focus or discipline, because you're ignoring that side of things to get this benefit. I mean, I guess technically we could just say that the disciplined mind trait does not apply, and then because you're ignoring it essentially, and then you are, especially as I've only specified, Constitution will be your spellcasting ability modifier. It doesn't change the saving throws you'll be using, so you're still going to be using Wisdom to resist spells and to resist like fear rather than Constitution. Admittedly, this is a super niche trait as well. I don't know. It's one of those that's really cool. It's a cool idea, hopefully, but I don't know if it'll actually see much use at the table. But it might. Whilst this trait is in effect, you may use Constitution as your spellcasting ability modifier. You gain temporary hit points equal to your proficiency bonus at the start of each of your turns. And the advantage on attacks made against you. Oh! No, because that was just... Oh. So I'm going to keep the Discipline Mind trait, that you lose access to the Discipline Mind trait, and the Discipline Mind trait no longer... yeah. How do you word turning a trait off? How would you word that? I can't think of any examples in the book. I have an idea for it as well. Uh, does not apply. Is no longer active. I'm just going to say you may no longer use the disciplined mind trait, or you may not use. No longer benefit. That's better. I'll say you do not, because no longer kind of could be read as like lasting beyond this effect, although the rider is there. But thank you. Do not benefit from the. Oops. Nope. Nope. Why do I keep italicizing instead of unbolding? Okay, so my thinking is that spells that and I don't know if this is too harsh, and I can roll back the do not benefit from the discipline mind trait, but I'm thinking that because thematically you're abandoning that discipline, right? Not disadvantage on intelligence, wisdom, and charisma saving throws, but all of those spell saves increase by an amount. Just like so, you're not at disadvantage to save against them. It's just harder for you to save against them because you are distracted by the hunger that's giving you extra health and stuff. Does that work? I think thematically it works. I just don't know if it's of any practical use at the tabletop. I also have no idea how you'd word that. I guess it would be. Well, I guess rather than increasing DCs, it would be you must subtract an amount. I just don't know if that's unnecessarily punishing. Because of the effect, what happens if you fail? Could treat it as just the Bane spell, I guess. Whenever you are called upon to make whenever you roll an intelligence, wisdom, or charisma saving throw, you do so as if you were under the effects of the Bane spell. Because I don't want to punish. Sorry, I don't want to. How to phrase? Like, wisdom isn't the thing that's being sacrificed here. It is that mental discipline, and wisdom is just the manifestation of that. It's just the ability score that most closely correlates with that usually. Could swap intelligence and constitution though. Yeah, I'm thinking perhaps swapping the score is already punishment enough. We could also, as I say, swap intelligence and constitution. In combination with losing the trait. Well, the Bane thing would probably have replaced losing the trait. If I'm being honest, I wouldn't do both. That's just too mean. Just trying to think. This wording would allow a wizard to use Constitution as their spell casting ability modifier. I don't think that's an issue. Same with any non-wisdom spell casting class. Okay, how about this? Just thinking things through in my head. Sorry, that's why I was quiet. Rather than at the start of each of your turns, you may use a bonus action to gain those temporary hit points because like thinking it through, that will require a couple classes to use bonus actions for things that they would like if you were an arcane trickster, for example, you could choose to get health roll and dodge, or several of the more utilitarian cleric spells are bonus actions to use once you've cast them, or healing word is a bonus action as well. So I think tying it into the action economy as a thing, like you're drawing on the hunger rather than it's just automatically there. Admittedly, at this point, I'm just trying to clarify and narrow the effect, and I don't know if I'm going too far with it or not. Mr. Daisy, youthful foolishness. I mean, I could just throw anything at the wall, right? I use a bonus action to gain temporary hit points. I think that's better than just you automatically get the hit points. It just gives you an option to gain temporary hit points if you need them. It's more of a reinforcing the fact that this is a conscious decision to do rather than it just happens. Also, with like, you can use Constitution if you want, but you don't have to. Again, it's a conscious decision you're making. The only decision you don't make once you've committed to this course of action is to restore the disciplined mind trait, which is antithetical to the whole thing anyway. So, there we go. Just trying to... Yeah, I mean, if you're stepping back from the spellcasting angle, realistically, all this does is just give you temporary hit points in place of would you need the swap scores at this point? Probably not, actually. Probably not. Thematically, it's a great idea, but mechanically, I don't think it's doing anything anymore. At the end of the long rest, you may sacrifice your mental resolve to draw upon the power hidden within... Whoops. Go rocks. That's a blessing, but in air quotes. Master Straight is in effect. I think that should be a comma. You may use Constitution as your spellcasting ability modifier. You may use a bonus action to gain temporary hit points equal to your proficiency bonus, and you do not benefit from the Discipline Mind trait. Does that work? Does that convey the fluff, the narrative that I wanted it to convey? And is it of any use whatsoever to non-spellcasters? I guess guaranteed temporary hit points is a rare thing, and I like leaving it. Narratively, I think it'd be more accurate to have it as actual hit points, but I'm not comfortable with that. I think if you're gaining actual hit points, there should be another rider to it, maybe. Beyond just, you don't have advantage on wisdom saving throws anymore. suppose a con mod spellcasting could go as well. A temp 8p needs a little more cost. Yeah, I like the Constitution as a spellcasting ability modifier gimmick. Maybe it's not at the end of a long rest. Maybe it's just as an action you can do this and it lasts for a minute and you can do it a certain number of times per day. Live, refining features. I've been on this for far too long. This is like the wording of that one feature way down below. Later in the document. That took so long to get the wording for. So sorry. No, you're asking very good questions. I wasn't happy with it as it was, so. It's one of those things, right? You want it to do something very cool narratively, but without feature bloat. And it has to be concise, but easily understood, and still do what you want it to do. I think I'm just trying to figure out why you would use Constitution as your spellcasting ability modifier. The only, I guess, the only reliable thing that would do for you is if you're what, and these are all things. I'll check the Scarred Lands Player's Guide. I can think of several things in the Player's Handbook that it would apply for, but I don't think they're in the SRD, so I shouldn't be thinking about those. Because the fighter is a champion in the SRD. Paladin has too many things still relying on charisma for that to be a necessity. Ranger, I think, would benefit maybe from not having to split focus between wisdom and between Dex, wisdom, and Constitution. So I'm not seeing anything in the SRD about things based on wisdom modifier. Oh, it's the thief in the SRD. I couldn't remember if it was the thief or the assassin. Let's just check the subraces in the Player's Guide. Subraces, subclasses, sorry. I'm specifically looking at those subclasses that are for non-spellcasting classes that get spells, because those are really the only instances where I can imagine you might actually want to change your Constitution and to want to use Constitution as your spellcasting ability modifier. I realised I couldn't see chat. It's fun though. Yeah, it's not the best example of how to write community content, but it's definitely something you need to think about when doing this kind of thing. Ranger gets nothing apart from new favored enemy. And prestige classes I don't have time to look through. The only thing I'm thinking right now, apart from the fact that I really need background music for this show, is that maybe I do have a penalty to intelligence, wisdom, and charisma saving throws. Because as it stands right now, there's no reason to not just not just use endless hunger all the time. I mean, I could have like a narrative component to it if other Ursids don't trust you, but oh. When I make a successful unarmed attack, you gain temporary hit points. That's one of the monk things, actually. Garrock's Hunger, the level 17 feature. You steal hit dice from the creatures you hit. Yeah, that train of thought. Other creatures can sense this, and you just have disadvantage on charisma checks. Because you're just so unsettling. Because of that need to consume just emanating from you. What about an aura? Any charisma check made within 10 feet of you is made with. That would remove the player from some interactions, though. Well, that's the thing, right? I don't think it necessarily would, but it's a choice that you're making to, because the Titans are evil. This is what I'm trying to. This is how I'm trying to rationalize it in my head. Let me know how it works. Like, the Titans are intrinsically evil for a given measurement of intrinsic evilness. Anyway, the gods went to war with them, and if you are going to be exhibiting traits for sake of a better word, the parental Titan, no, it doesn't work. Maybe it's just any charisma check you make. I wanted that kind of, just being near this person is unsettling, but I don't know how to couch that in terms that players, not all players obviously, because like I would be perfectly happy with this, my group would be as well, but not all players would be. Well, yeah, but how do you convey that in D&D to the point when, because then there's a problem I have with D&D, but not really a soapbox, but because it's so bound up in mechanics, informing narrative rather than the other way around. Like, if I were doing, say, a Powered by the Apocalypse game, I would 100% just say that you're surrounded by an aura of dread, and I wouldn't have to quantify that in any way. But how would you convey dread or a need to flee, to leave the situation in a way that every player understands is not compulsory, but informs the gameplay? Because I could be like, the frighten effect. Saving throw, you'd just be constantly rolling saving throws for every NPC, which would just slow things down dramatically. And there, yeah, the penalty is an idea that it's like D&D needs a condition that is frightened but is not frightened. I also don't know where the conditions are in the SRD. Also, hello everyone, welcome and thank you for helping out. I'm just going to check the conditions to see if I'm misremembering any. While I'm doing this, by the way, I can't see chat, so I do apologise if you are making suggestions. I think I've gone too far. I sure have. The SRD is a work of incredible editing and layout. It has no bookmarks and is 403 pages long. Yeah, see, frightened is not really going to help here. Perfection. Oh, it's so good. It's so good. I don't want it to be just a it's a you thing. I want it to be because it is unnatural. It is Titanic. Disadvantage on animal handling, persuasion, deception checks. Yeah. This is just one of those things where I'm trying to accommodate for all players here. Because if I put that, I know straight up some players will just go, I'm not going to roll those. And I don't want that to be the thing. But I can't do that. I can't think like that in this circumstance because whatever I put, so there'll be people who just won't roll it because it's got a negative thing associated with it. How about this? So those three rolls: animal handling, persuasion, and deception. I would probably also add insight because you're just unsettling. But roll and disadvantage, no proficiency bonus may be added to those checks. But intimidation has a doubled proficiency bonus. Because that's not saying don't make these rolls. That's saying, hey, try this method of persuasion. But obviously, if you fail an intimidation roll, or even if you succeed in an intimidation roll, there's negative consequences to that. And now I also have to write down all of those skills. Thank you for that. If I write it out so we can all see what I'm talking about. Also, I now need to use semicolons here to break up the... You know what? No. Bullet points. I'm not going to get fancy. I'm just going to use bullet points. Disadvantage is mechanically equivalent to +5, -5. Oh, I know that. I find it very elegant. I like it. It is reasonably elegant. Maybe this is just me overthinking design, which is entirely possible. Sorry, I need to type this out and then I'll explain my thinking. This will be the last stream on this, by the way. If I don't finish the Ursids today, I'll just finish them in draft. I'll finish them off stream. You know what, actually? Rather than, because obviously I do this a lot where it's, hey, roll whatever with this skill. Rather than specifying charisma, deception, charisma, persuasion, etc., I'm just going to say any ability checks. Any animal handling, deception, or persuasion. I would not call it overthinking, but an experience. Hey, no worries. I just want to explain why I want to do this and see what you all think. Made 10 feet of view. I like the aura still. I'm sorry. I just like the aura idea. 10 Tie the magnitude of the penalty to the effect of the magnitude of the beneficial effect. Well, that's what we're going for on stable dice. May not benefit from proficiency bonuses. And any intimidation. Is it intimidate or intimidation? I think it's intimidation. That's stupid fingers. Why don't you work? I guess it's any creature making an intimidation check within 10 feet of you. They double their proficiency bonus for that check. Nope, even better. Any intimidation check made within 10 feet of you gains a bonus equal to your proficiency bonus. The stronger you get, the more unsettling you become. Anyway, so I've gone for the proficiency bonus angle rather than advantage disadvantage. Because I want it to represent the fact that you're just so unsettling that experience can't be applied, right? You can't. The training just goes completely out of the window. You're down to your base charisma or just intuitive understanding of animals. Whereas you personally are so unsettling that you are influencing intimidation checks. Rather than advantage disadvantage is a neat and elegant system. Don't get me wrong. This will be a more consistent thing, whereas advantage disadvantage obviously gives you the extremes. It gives you a wider range of numbers. Let me hydrate. I also probably will just overrun today. There's nothing on until like 5 PM, I think it is, so I can overrun if needs be to finish this. Why is this document not bookmarked in the slightest? Who did this? Who was responsible for that decision? Actually, I say that. This isn't even the first version of the SRD. The first version of the SRD didn't even include Eldritch Blast. So if you wanted to make Warlock content, you couldn't. Because it's kind of the spell. That's the Warlock spell. Right. Let's see. Athletics doesn't really make sense to have a bonus to. Sleight of hand stealth. It's just easier for me to read quickly, I'm sorry. I could see an argument for perception. So that fight or flight is. Yeah, no, I just blasted. It was really weird. Like that fight or flight instinct is kicking in so hard that you're just seeing everything. Like you're looking everywhere for a way out. So maybe maybe we have 3. Maybe we have investigation, intimidation, and perception checks gain your proficiency bonus because people are just trying to get away from you. I also just like to have 3 and 3 rather than 3 and 1. But it's obviously, I don't know if that's just me overthinking it or not. That I do want this to I want this trait to be double-edged, right? You're ignoring what your people want. You're ignoring what they do, what they're like known for to get this air quote dark power. So it's not going to be simple, especially in Scarred Lands. Oh yeah, also when an enemy does it, you're just unsettling everyone. Fear is indiscriminate, don't forget. If you're afraid, you're afraid. It doesn't matter what is going to try to intimidate you or scare you, it's going to get a bonus. Oh, why did I go away from the... Okay, that's because I'm on the wrong section of the SRD. You fool. There we go. The intimidation will make sense, but the perception and investigation were a stretch, I admit. Especially out of all of those, perception is one of the most common skills. So I don't know if it necessarily needs that bonus. But again, fight or flight, senses and overdrive. Maybe I just do one of them. I think perception makes more sense than investigation. Because investigation's more, calm, thought out reasoning, deduction. Equal to, let's say half. Let's go with half instead. As you emit an aura of dread. Dread's the wrong word, though. It's not. Technically, it's the right word. It's not what I wanted to convey, but also it works. So I'll leave it at that. I think that's good. Use Constitution as your spellcasting ability modifier. Use bonus action to gain temporary hit points equal to your proficiency bonus. And Unsettling Aura. There we go. That makes more sense. Much appreciated. I wanted to give that narrative twist to it to explain in the narrative why this is happening. Everything else I think is reasonably clear why this stuff is happening. It's all about consumption to satisfy that need within you. So getting health when you consume. It's all about the body. You don't get the mental discipline side of things. You know what? I'm leaving it at that for now. I could overthink this all day and still not finish it. So let's just move on to the Temperate Ursids. I also realise I'm super inconsistent between lowercase u and uppercase u on Ursid. I will figure out what I need to put it as. Those Ursids who live in more temperate climes. Trend towards shades of dark brown and ochre? Madagascan Sunbear. That's ochre, right? Dark brown, obviously the grizzly. Yeah, okay. Climbs is wood? Oh yeah, it's totally wood. Yeah, it's just climates, but you can say climbs instead. The fur of those Ursids. There we go. The fur of those Ursids that live in more temperate climates. This is a really... You know what? Those Ursids who live in more temperate climes have fur that trends towards shades of dark brown and ochre. Their clothes are usually dyed with fruits and stained in patterns depicting the night sky. To which they... So... Yeah, the Desert Ursid burn their sacrifices. The Polar Ursid just put them in a cave and kind of reject them. Where is it? Where did I define them more? Oh, regional horde. There we go. So I guess they'd have caves that they just stash things in. Stained in patterns mirroring the stalactites of the caves they use as moors. Ability score increase. Let's have slightly stealthier ones. Practiced hunter, I guess. What did I do up here? Yeah, that would be more... This would be more, here. Thinking about it. This would be stealth. Oh, this would be about climbing. Right. Duh. Climbing bears. Let's go with... Natural climate just seems too obvious. I'm gonna be honest with you. Let's go with one for treetop. Let's just go with you have a climbing speed. You have a climbing speed of... that speed's 30, right? I think I just went with the average, with the usual medium creature speed, yeah. The climbing speed of 30 feet. And... subterranean sacrifices. Let's go on dark vision. I'm, as usual, just... Did I include dark vision up here? Because that would be really useful. I don't believe I did. Sure didn't. Oh, yeah, that needs a space. Did I... Maybe it's down here. I think I've got you know what? I can control F right in Google Docs. I can. Wonderful. I really appreciate that. Past me. That's what I'm going to do up here, though. Past me is a scumbag. It was this was most likely because the formatting in the SRD is very dodgy and inconsistent when copying into a document. So past me, pat on the back for the troll. But there we go, climbing speed to reflect life in the trees, and dark vision, because dark vision. Also, just because I don't want to give them, like, you have advantage on perception checks related to scent, because while it's cool and very evocative, it's also extremely niche, and that would be up here if I were going to do that. It would be all of them have that, and you know what? I might still do that, but that's a future me problem. Okay, weapons. What weapons should they be proficient in? I like the short bow idea. I think we're going to keep the short bow as kind of the constant weapon that they're all proficient in. I don't think there's any weapons necessarily. Yeah. This will be javelins because it's a lighter weapon. So while you're climbing, it's going to weigh you down less. Probably darts. Ooh, actually, no. No. Roll on 3 weapons. Javelins and short bows. Oops. Because it's more related to the weaponry. You also have proficiency with poisonous kits. There we go. You make the poisons from what you find in the temperate climate. Basically, this is like if you want to play in a Tamana, you can use this in Tamana. But Tamana's not a setting that we can write for, so this is the closest I can do. Right. What was I going to do up here? I cannot remember what I was going to do up here, if I'm being honest. So let's just improvise. Let's just riff off Practiced Hunter. How about an option for when you attack? When you make a weapon attack. Oops. You may choose from the following. You may reduce your weapon attack bonus. I was about to say to hit roll, which is, I've been reading other games. You may, side note, it's good you were able to avoid the word dread earlier. Imagine having an aura that made you a dready bear. That's fair. That's fair. I did realise that this is essentially, you can play Winnie the Pooh now. So that's great. He would have obviously be a barbarian. You may reduce your weapon attack bonus by 2. If you do, you reduce the target's walking. Well, you know what? Ah, you read the Discord announcement. Excellent. If you do, you may reduce one of the target's movement speeds. Why did I pluralize movement? There we go. By 5 until the end of your next turn, let's say. Why did I put reduced as well? What is going on with me today? I've spent all of my mental energy on this. That's the issue. To the end of your next turn. If you do, comma, on a successful attack. If your attack is successful. There we go, much better. It's going to follow the same kind of formula, so let's do that. This advantage on attack to reduce target speed to 10. Ooh. Hang on, give me a second. Nope. I'm just going to bullet point these. There we go. And that was Ray Cole, but that, yeah. I figured it was Ray Frost. I think that would just replace this. In all fairness, to cut down on just maths and options. I want to stay away from Great Weapon Masters, like reduce it by 5 to do 10 extra damage, because that's always seemed absurd to me. Your attack, you may reduce one of the target's movement speeds by, let's just by 10. Your choice. Oh, I guess I could just put your choice of one of the target's movement speeds. It doesn't, you know, most things don't have more than one movement speed, but for those that do, it might be nice. So we've got that. I think we'll have like a bleeding wound. So if your attack is successful, the target takes an additional d4 damage at the start of its next turn. Let's say traditionally it's necrotic, so we'll go with necrotic. Like the sword of wounding straight up does that, so I'm happy to do that. But it's only a one-off. I think we'll leave it at 3 because your proficiency bonus starts at 2, so you're making attacks at -1. But when your proficiency bonus is level 2, a guaranteed 1d4 necrotic damage, like if you hit, is huge at that level. So I'm good with that. And then what? Proficiency bonus 3 is what, level 4 onwards? At which point it's still kind of useful to have that there. And also, you're more likely to be hitting things at that point. So, I just need a table. Level 5 onwards for +3. Yeah, I'm good with that, though. Because by the time you've reached that point, you're just not adding your proficiency bonus to the attack roll. But presumably, your stats are pretty good, and you can get buffs from elsewhere and all of that good stuff. It's a risk you're going to have to take, but it's guaranteed damage, so yeah. Should that 1d4 damage scale, however? That is the question. I know cantrip scale. But a lot of the things that scale, they scale because you're only going to be doing that one thing on your turn. So with cantrips and upcasted spells, for example, they scale because spellcasters get to do one thing, whereas obviously multi-attack exists for martial classes and replaces the need, which means that they get to make the separate attacks. Think SD1D4 feels weak to you? Yeah. I don't necessarily want to give it cantrip progression though. Could do 1d6, 1d8, and 1d10 whenever you. Hang on. So it's a one-off. It's a one-off damage bonus, but it's automatic damage that you can do from first level. How about the damage? It just increases in size whenever your proficiency bonus goes up. So, when it goes up to, if you hit level 5, it does 1d6. You hit level whatever, it does 1d8. Does the target keep bleeding? No. I don't want to give it, I don't want to do that. That's covered by a magic weapon. And I don't want to tread on the toes of magic items. So, level 5, it go up to d6. Level 9, it go up to d8. Essentially, it's a free attack. So if you hit, and don't forget, this isn't a class thing. This is just anyone can do it. So if you've got multi attack and you do this, if you hit both times, that's an additional 2d4, 2d6, 2d8, 2d10, etc. That's just guaranteed damage. Apart from if they're resistant or immune to necrotic damage. Damage die. I don't want to type out the progression. I'm being honest. I really hate having to type out progression, but because D&D has no concept of stepping up dice or increasing dice in size, but a trigger on every attack corrects or multiple attacks. Yeah. So you could choose to reduce your weapon attack bonus by 3 for all of your attacks, and it would stack. That changes to 1d6 when you reach 5th level. 1d8 when you reach... Is it a 1d4 level plus proficiency? Ooh, that's mean though. I guess it could just be proficiency, right? Removes all randomness from it. It saves time. Increases as you level. The target takes an additional amount of necrotic damage equal to your proficiency bonus. Because you can still stack it that way, and I mean, if you did, it would get... So, multi-attack, assuming both hit, that would be an extra 6 damage at level 5. Creating a progression table somewhere and then just referencing it would be utilitarian. Yeah, so, just a step back from design for a moment. I said cantrip progression because... all cantrips scale the same way, but rather than just having an entry that says cantrip progression in the rulebook, they just type out the whole thing every darn time. Argue that the starter turns are needed bookkeeping, why not immediately? There was a reason. It's not good enough. There we go. Think of the poor DMs. No, that's fair. As a forever DM. Also, if it's not a die, it's... if it's not tied to dice and it happens immediately, crit doesn't make it any worse, which is fine by me. I guess if the attack is a crit, you could add level damage and you could do it based on level instead. Yeah, that I realized that subconsciously. I think that's why I did it at the start of turn, is so it's not all part of the same attack. So crit doesn't apply. Because I feel like now it's kind of nerfed for critting. Nah, crit is, yeah, you do get to just do extra damage with a crit anyway. That's fair. Automatically does more damage. Actually, thinking about it, yeah, this scale's pretty. This is a mini. Um, yeah, we could just. It's a bit wordier, but why not reduce weapon attack bonus by half your proficiency bonus? And at that point, it's just a mini great weapon master. Oh god, you could stack the two. You could, if you wanted to. Or just leave it at 3. I mean, thematically, I guess it makes sense because you're going to get better at doing this the more experienced you are. So when 3 is not your entire proficiency bonus, you're going to be better at hitting things, I guess. Beating armor class rolls. Beating armor class, sorry, with your attack rolls. There we go. Okay, so we've got imposed disadvantage, we've got reduced weapon attack bonus. Let's do some other mechanic. What else could you do? We could increase attack bonus to do something. Is there a reason why providing additional source damage would be different for a single increased damage source? What do you mean instead of this? Maybe we don't even need the reduced weapon damage part? I kind of want it to be harder to deal extra damage because it's basically a cold shot, right? At that point, you're targeting a specific body part to do extra damage, or targeting like an existing wound to make it worse, which is going to be more difficult than just hitting the general opponent. Could be by up to 3, and then necrotic damage equal to 2 times the reduction. Because that's not difficult maths. It doesn't take any bookkeeping up. It doesn't get affected by crit damage, and it does basically the same thing, but it doesn't overly punish low-level characters. And now I type this out while waiting for the chat delay. Because that was my concern, was that at low levels you'd just be missing most of the time, because you'd be using the base attack roll because you don't have any magic items to compensate. You might not have access to bless, for example, or bardic inspiration, things of that nature, so it would not really be used. Yeah, I guess at low levels they can pick the other options. But I want everything to be viable at the same time, if that makes sense. If you had the damage to go at the start of the turn, it'd be an additional damage source. If there's some effect which reduced all damage sources, this benefit would be penalized as the initial attack damage and necrotic effect damage would be independently reduced. Yeah, so if something is resistant to necrotic, that would or immune to necrotic, it will definitely take into account. I can't think of anything off the top of my head that would double penalize it based on timing, but it is definitely like that I can only think of official things. I don't know what homebrew is out there or what other community content other people might be playing. I've just noticed the time. I'm going to say... So I'm going to type this out because it's just easier for me to type this out and then explain my thinking. Not improve. Increase. If your attack is successful... It doesn't have to be an up to. Why would, with what I'm thinking, I'll type it out and I'll go back to the increase. Lower the target's AC by... I'll just put 2 for sake of argument here. So this is more working together to sunder armor or to distract the opponent. I guess this will, again, go back to disadvantage. Actually, no. Disadvantage. Maybe you have advantage on the roll. You don't deal damage, but you lower the target's AC. Because more you don't care about what you do to them, you're just trying to hit them and distract them. It's essentially the help action. But rather than granting advantage, you're lowering AC. Yeah, to me, I like having the option of advantage or lowered AC. But at the same time, the help action does exist, so I don't think this is really adding anything to the game. Equally, we could just leave it as the 2, like extra damage or reduced movement speed are both viable things. Like when you're hunting, if you're not going to go for the kill shot, you want to slow the target down, or you go for the kill shot, right? What else do you need to do? Distract, that's the help action. Tracking is covered by the survival skill. Is this on each attack or each attack action? Right now it's when you make a weapon attack. It's not based on the action, it's the actual attack itself. The only thing you can't do is use it with spells. Yeah, I don't think we need 3. Now to just... Does it just go once per attack action or on each weapon attack? I'm happy with once per weapon attack because, again, going back to Great Weapon Master, that's every attack. And you're not going to get the damage scaling that things like Backstab get, even if you hit with... Barbarian's got, 3 attacks? I mean, I guess technically 18 damage is a huge chunk, but that's also high-level play, so... Because I don't know if limiting it to once per attack action is punishing martial characters. Because obviously, characters that don't get multi-attack are only going to be able to do this once per attack action anyway. But then characters that get multi-attack, I feel, might be able to use these in interesting ways. Like spread across targets, or just focus on a single target, and you're risking not hitting it to increase the damage you deal by hitting it in a weak spot. That's my thinking, anyway. This is why it's... honestly, I much prefer writing subclasses, but equally, obviously, People options are important. Because subclasses, you have that known quantity, right? You know what you have to do. You know the mechanics you're working with. You don't have to think of this class could use it in this way, this class could use it in this way. It's just like, this is how this class works. This is a variant on this class's core mechanics and ideas. You're good, go for it. Yeah, and if you choose to make 3 attack rolls at disadvantage to hamstring an opponent, go for it. Definitely a decision you've made. Can you imagine though? Hamstring. I attack the dragon with my great club. Okay, which speed do you reduce? Oh, it's flying speed. Keeps one from running away. Well, that's the hunting side of things, right? I think I'm okay. You know what? I'm happy with it. It's fine. It's homebrew. If people use it and find it's broken, no doubt they'll complain, because that's what people do. I've discovered after spending many years on the internet. That's the whole document finished at 39 pages. I've technically overrun already. I might add some new weapons if I feel like it when I go through and edit it. But for now, I think we're good. Imagine I would do it. Oh yeah. No, my first D&D character was a 4th edition wizard, and her entire build was, you aren't going anywhere because I'm reducing your movement speed to 0. It was so much fun. I just need to do names. Yeah, I might add a couple of weapons, maybe magic item or 2 in editing. I don't know. It might just be as is. It needs proofing and laying out, obviously. But that's it. That's the whole document. So everyone who's sat through this, I have heard of some of the other things you've done to enemies in the past. Everyone who's sat through the past 2 hours, I really appreciate it. There was obviously a lot of umming and ahhing and about endless hunger, but there we go. Team up with the Ray Frost Wizard seems legit as well. Yeah, Ray Frost is one of the most underrated cantrips in the game, I firmly believe. Everyone goes for Firebolt, and I'm like, no, I'll take that D8 with the -10 movement. Ray Frost and Chill Touch, just for the alternate utilities it gives you. Yeah, so thank you for sitting through the last 2 hours, and if you were interacting, thank you for interacting and providing critiques, suggestions. Hopefully it's helpful in some way. Hopefully there were lessons buried deep within my babble. As I said at the start, hydrate. You're right. I probably should. As I said at the start, I am going to take a break until October to focus on clearing my other projects so that I can resume with a fresh slate. My creative juices mostly restored. Those of you who follow me on my own channel, I will probably still keep this 2-hour slot. I won't stream during this 2-hour slot. I will still be working on tabletop stuff, but I'll still stream from 4:30 onwards. Those of you who don't follow me on my own channel, I do stream on Twitch as Comrade Bubbles. It is gameplay, video gamey stuff. Occasionally I do tabletop role playing, but I've had to take a hiatus to sort things out. I will be going live in about 20 minutes over there. We're playing some Resident Evil 0. So if you want to check it out, please do. If you don't, it's totally understandable. Thanks for the stream. No, thank you for watching. Train of Thought style showed you a bunch of helpful things. Train of Thought is all I've got, okay? Stream of Consciousness is 90% of my life. And honestly, being able to talk to people, having that impetus to explain not even to explain, but to having that reason to talk to people, to talk things through, really does help with self-reflection of what you're writing. So even if you're working alone, I highly recommend talking out loud. If you're going into proofreading or editing, reading sentences aloud does also help with proofreading and editing. Yeah, just bounce everything. I say that I'm not just saying that I am a trained and freelance proofreader and editor. Like I do sort of know what I'm talking about there. It just reading anything aloud really, because it's using a different part of your brain, right? So you're thinking about it in a different way, and it does help with design, with writing, with proofreading, editing, all of that good stuff. But yes, I'll be taking a break on this channel. And be back in October with some spooky Trinity Continuum stuff, because horror is one of my I haven't spoken aloud in weeks. I know that feeling. The horror genre is one of my great passions, and I like looking at games that aren't horror games and figuring out how you can do horror in them. So not only will that be an introduction to Trinity Continuum and the story path system, it will also be like how I guess a workshop maybe is the wrong word, but how you can adapt rule sets to fit certain genres, and I'll probably talk about how you could do other genres in them as well, beyond just buying the relevant book. You can set up with design and software, it helps immensely too. I can imagine I've designed super basic like Java 101 softwares, so I can imagine. So hopefully that's of interest. As ever, as always, if you are curious about the about Onyx Path and any products or anything like that, Monday Meeting Notes is the place to go. There's no current Kickstarter. Squeaks in the Deep wrapped up. The next one is the Apocalyptic Record for Werewolf the Apocalypse 20th Anniversary Edition. But the notes, the Monday Meeting Notes also has a brief touch on the logistics of kickstarting products and printing them, and the effects that COVID has had on such things. It's super shallow and surface level, but it's still pretty interesting. It has delayed Deviant, the Renegade's Mummy the Curse, I believe, from what I've read. Indie Press Revolution's currently having a Dog Days of Summer sale, so the link to that is in the Monday Meeting Notes. That's physical stuff and dice and GM screens and that kind of thing. Drive-Thru RPGs currently having a best of under $5 sale with 33% off quite a few PDFs. So if there's anything you've been holding off and picking up, it might be worth checking to see if that's on sale. The schedule will appear in the post roll, so just hang around for that. On sale this week, if you're interested, is the Jumpstart for Trinity Continuum Aberrant, The Adventures of Teen Tomorrow. The dates for Gen Con events, or the dates and times for Gen Con events are live, and really, I think that's it. With VTM Alliance Path not producing more V20 content. That's... I will preface this with I do not know nearly enough to offer an informed comment. I believe that Onyx Path do not currently have any V5 material in the works, because that's all being handled by, I want to say, Renegade now. For V20, it's entirely on Paradox and Onyx Path having the projects they pitched to Paradox getting approved. Forbidden Religions is I know you mentioned V20 specifically, but there is V5 stuff still in the works, like in the project timeline. I'm just scanning for V20. And the best I can say is there's nothing on the project timeline, but I do not know enough about the specifics to give you any concrete answer. That would be an ask on the Discord, and if you aren't on the Honest Path Discord, I can ask for you, because we interact outside of this channel regularly. They're definitely still supporting 20th anniversary titles. There's stuff in the pipeline for Werewolf Mage, the World of Darkness in general. So it might just be they don't have anything pitched or confirmed or agreed by Paradox. Sorry, I can't give you any official answer, but I don't work for Onyx Path. That'd be more ask on the Discord, as I said. If you came in at the end of this and want to see the start of it, unfortunately, if you are not a subscriber, you will have to wait for a week, at which point the Twitch VOD will go live on the Twitch channel, Twitch videos tab, I guess, and on my YouTube channel. Subscribers, on top of getting the emotes and access to a subscriber-only channel in the Discord server, also get to watch the videos a week before anyone else. So if that's of interest to you, please do consider clicking that subscribe option. You can subscribe with Prime Gaming. It's exactly the same as if you subscribed with a tier 1 sub to the channel. Onyx Path get all the same benefits. You get all the same benefits, except you have to manually renew it rather than auto-renewing. But that's the only difference. I'd be curious to know the answer, since I'm not very happy with the mechanics changes in V20 and V5 are two very different games, so it makes sense. I know it's that you're not the only person who isn't a fan of the mechanics changes. But I can certainly ask on the Onyx Path Discord if you are not a member of it / do not want to be a member of it for whatever reason. Otherwise, totally ask over there. Probably the relevant V20 channel's the best place, maybe. I don't know. Anyway, I think that's everything from me for this week. So I'll leave you with the post roll. I'll hang around and chat for a couple of minutes anyway. I generally let the post roll run once or twice so that you can see the schedule properly. There's some hybrid V5, V20 stuff here in game. That's fair. I offered to do that for my V5 players, but they decided not to in the end. So I saved myself a headache there. Anyway, again, thank you all for watching. I really appreciate it. This show literally would not exist without the community. So I really appreciate that. And hopefully catch you all in October sometime for some spooky Trinity Continuum work. But all that remains for me is to say thank you again. And please do stay safe, please do stay healthy, and please do stay wholesome. And I'll see you all next time.